2019 elections are nearby. INEC has released its calendar for the conduct of the elections. As at today, the parties are still in court handling disputes arising out of the primaries. Ideally, these disputes were supposed to be ended on the 7th of October. However, we are here today to analyze the conduct of the primaries, the results, the ongoing disputes, and what it portends for the 2019 elections itself. How can we move forward? Are there things that we can do differently, or are we going to carry on like this? With me today are, to my right, Kunle Somoye. I hope I got your name.
Yes, you did.
He's a communicator, and we have Ose Anenih, a political analyst, a satirist, and a writer.
Glad to be here.
So I'm going to start with you, Kunle.
Okay.
So, what do you think about the 2019 elections generally?
Yeah, well, the 2019 elections will come and go. That's what I think about it. And of course, as expected in a country like ours with diverse ethnicity, religion, and of course, we have different places where our sentiments lies, and there are going to be clash of interest, which is normal in a political gathering. And Aristotle have said it that man is by nature a political animal. And what's politics? Lastwell had said that politics is about who gets what, when, and how. And 2019 is in a democratic setting, in our own peculiar setting as well. A date set for a review and possible change in government, or also continuity in government, depending on where the people votes lies.
I like the what you just said, or continuity in government. Well, so I'm going to come to you. You saw the conduct of the primaries in Lagos State, and as well as in other states in the country. What's your opinion of the primaries? Do you think that the primaries are a reflection of what is to come in 2019? Do you think it was done well, or what's your opinion generally?
I think I'll just ride on what Kunle said just now. I don't think 2019 is just politics. I don't think it's just about interests. I don't think we should, or we can afford to reduce it to just a contest of wills. If we were talking about 2015, I might have been inclined to toe that line. But I think 2019 is a lot more serious. I think what's at stake is a lot more important to Nigeria. It's not about PDP. It cannot be about APC. I don't think they rate. 2019 is about, I don't want to sound melodramatic, but I go to bed and I wake up thinking about 2019 being a contest for the soul of Nigeria. And so, having said that backdrop, when I turn to the APC primaries particularly, when I see what happened in Lagos, and we also saw what happened in Kano, where APC is returning in total, I think maybe 14 million or so odd APC members who trooped out on a weekday to vote for Buhari. Compare that with 2015, where I think Buhari across the nation got only about 15 point something million votes.
I don't think that 14 million was from one place.
Direct primaries for APC, card-carrying APC members across the country, yes. Right?
Yes.
Buhari only got 15 million in 2015. And it makes me worry if within the political space, right? If within a party's political space, you see numbers churned out like this. I'm a political analyst. It leads me to believe that it's setting the ground for numbers that will be churned out in 2019.
So are you suggesting that by any means that someone who's been in the political circle for a while, who's also led this country, this is his second time leading, are you suggesting that he couldn't possibly have grown his followers and grown, the party, the current leading party possibly could not have grown their, So yes, please.
Oh yes. First of all, it's important to know that the trend in the APC candidates' followership had been shown in, of course, in the INEC results, not just in 2015, in 2011, in 2007, and as well as in 2003.
APC wasn't there.
Talking about the candidates, not APC. And the candidates, even in 2011, if I'm not mistaken, had about 12 million votes. And I want to also correct a notion. Firstly, I'm a political scientist, and I want to tell you that I'm not reducing anything to what it thinks I am. But the reality is, politics, like I still say, is who gets what, when, and how, or the allocation of resources as it should be. And in this case, APC has party members. If you look at the INEC results in 2015, not everyone in Nigeria came out to vote. Just look at the percentage. I would like to ask him, what are the percentage? You can have party members who don't even have PVC, who have party membership cards. You can have party members who won't go out to vote. But basically, I feel it's just like an affirmation because there's no other candidate that is going to contest against him. The other person that was likely to contest within the party left. Of course, which leaves him as the sole candidate. And it's an internal democracy.
You've brought out a very important aspect, which I'm going to drag back to how the conduct of the primaries in both parties, in both major parties and other smaller parties builds up to the 2019 election. The cost of the forms across the parties was one of the major reasons why young people especially were not able to participate in the process. It also screened out leading presidential aspirants in APC particularly. We found out that in PDP as a party they had more than 6 political presidential aspirants, but in APC there was a consensus candidate. Even with that consensus candidate, we had aspirants using their social media platforms to speak out against a seeming injustice done to them by the increment of the price of the forms from what it used to be in 2014 to what it is now. So would we say that, you said something like it's the coming out of those people being an affirmation, can it be said that these people were not given a choice to make? And how does that mirror 2019? Because elections, democracy actually starts from the primary process. So if you're not giving options, how could you have, they say to me,
I think that's what your opinion is, because you are from your question, because you are from outside the party. I feel the party is supreme, according to what we know as democracy. And the members of the parties are the stakeholders and they decide which direction to go. I'm thinking this is not even an issue for me, because I'm not trying to even compare with the past that happened before to in the opposition party today. And this, to me, is not an issue. I feel the issue should be basically what's going to be the topics that we're going to the questions rather that we'll be asking the candidates, both the ruling party and the opposition party. What are we going to be holding them accountable for, and do we have any hope? Because if you look at Nigeria's context, it's been like 58 years counting, and of course we just have like a fledgling democracy of, let's say, 17 years, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, we are growing, but where do we go from here? I feel that's an issue for me.
I totally disagree. I see societies as generations that build on the progress or lack thereof of their previous generation. And if you look at that definition and maybe focus on democracy, democracy should progressively get better. So you look at America's democracy, and we can't compare because theirs has been churning out cycles of progress for over about 200 years now. Like Kunle just said, we're about 17 years old. You cannot have a democratic contest. You cannot have a contest where there's no choice and call that democratic. APC, I'm not in the APC, so that's their business.
But they didn't complain that
APC,
there's no choice.
APC candidates.
Was there a mechanism for
Of course.
Guys, one house. APC aspirants complain that the costs of the forms were too high. And for me, there's even a moral issue where the president, he didn't buy his form by himself. People came together to buy his form.
Party members, right?
It doesn't matter, but it speaks to the culture of patronage we have. If I buy your form, you are beholden in some way to me. It's the same argument we have about vote buying. If I pay for your votes, then you are beholden to me. I don't owe you anything. And I don't think the president should, if he could not afford the form, I don't think you crowdfund for just yourself and then you are the only candidate. There was this young man, Adamu Garba. He ran a brilliant campaign. He's had to pull out because he was unable to justify spending that amount of money for the cost of the forms. And how democracies grow, whether we're within the parties or we're outside them, is when we see something that's wrong, you say, guys, this doesn't work. It doesn't work. And write it in, let it be written in stone that at least when this thing happened, you stood against it.
Let me come in here now. Going by this ideology that you're putting forward, that means both candidates from the major parties are a bit morally unjustified running on the tickets they're running on because both of them had their forms bought by people other than themselves.
Yes, but
now, also,
I disagree.
Before you disagree with me, hear the rest of my question. So, are we saying there are about 63 to 68 parties presenting presidential candidates for this 2019 election? Now, are we going to say let's look onto the smaller parties? Do they have any impact in 2019 elections? Are we going to be looking to them for moral fortitude? Are we going to be looking to them as the beacons of light? Or are we saying that we would amend what we have as the major parties?
Let me respond to the first thing you said before I jump to the second question. I spoke about the moral issue when I said APC cannot set the bar so high that only by crowdfunding can their sole candidate afford his forms. In the PDP, it was symbolic. So we had, I think at the last count, at our primaries, we had about 16 candidates. And so if a group of people came together to say they want to buy the forms for one candidate, it was symbolic. That's what that was.
How is it different? I want to understand how it's different.
I use the word symbolic because there wasn't a barrier set that no candidate could cross.
Can I say something?
That's why I said it was symbolic. So even if, imagine, even if, let's say for instance, let's pretend that the PDP nomination form was ₦1, right? And everybody could afford it. We would have had 16 candidates and a couple of people would have donated 20 kobo to buy Atiku's nomination form, right? It's symbolic. He can afford it. We all know he can afford it. It was symbolic.
So you're saying the difference was in the other candidate saying he couldn't afford
it? That's what I'm saying.
That's my point. Where's the moral justification?
Where's your evidence that he can't afford it?
But again, that even makes it worse. If he could afford it, and he's the only candidate that could afford it, then it's a problem. We talk about.
Can you respond to the issue of the smaller parties?
The Not Too Young to Run bill, for instance, and what it did was try to lower barriers. That's what it did. Yeah. And one of the barriers, something he told, I think, harped on day and night, was the issues of the cost of elections. And what the APC did, they signed the bill, but set the entry barriers for financial entry barriers so high. It's as a young person, I was disgusted.
Are you young?
Can I say something? Can I just respond just quickly?
To your second question, on the moral quest in other parties.
Yes.
I hope this thing goes live. To my mind, the most competent candidate running is Kingsley Moghalu. I love the man. I've met the man. I've bought his book. Hold on. I'm not campaigning. I'm going somewhere. Let me land. Let me land. Hold on. I love Kingsley Moghalu. I've read his plans. I've bought his books. I've met him. I've attended his town hall. He's amazing. But he cannot win the election in 2019 because he doesn't have the political structure he needs, right? And that's the problem we have with the smaller parties. I think they tried to make some headway with the pact thing, but somehow that fell apart. I think they're trying to do there's a second one, but I mean, the people that didn't abide by the pact thing are entering another one, and I don't think it will work. What we have seen happen, what we have seen a political party do pragmatically is the PDP, where we assembled, I'm coming, hold on. Where I'm not campaigning, I'm talking.
Strictly on the issue. So I'm going to give Kunle the floor to respond. I would not let you run agenda on this program.
Well, no. Thank you. I think all I've heard is word salads, and I'm not just a talker. I also do, and being a graduate of political sciences is something that was chosen. Firstly, the Not Too Young to Run campaign, I was also part of it. And it's very laughable that, you would ignore the fact that the age of candidacy for Senate and for governors were left as it is. And yes, during the campaign, I
was left as it is by the APC government.
No. Let me finish.
I want us to be clear.
Let me finish.
Because I want us to be clear.
Because I'm sure he's talking about Saraki.
I mean, this is going live.
Because Saraki is presidential. Was also a presidential.
This is going live.
So can I finish?
I mean, I want us to stick to facts. I want us to stick to facts.
Can you moderate that?
Yeah, I apologize.
Yeah, thank you. So, the election finance reform is very necessary. I'm going to, be part of it if any is coming anytime soon. I see that we are actually growing. That's what I see as a democracy. And yes, money politics, you can't rule that out. I think Nigeria is copying the American, democratic system, and it's everywhere, especially in the US, but it's not enough reasons to justify what's going on in Nigeria. We've had cases of course, dollars being shared at the PDP primaries, and I can't actually, say much about that than to say that. Let me finish.
Very quickly. I want to show you a difference. Allow me. I want to show a difference. Hold on.
You should have
Kunle will enjoy this. Kunle will enjoy this.
I would enjoy if you let me finish.
Also, let him finish.
Thank you. So only people with deep pockets that can do that. And I was on BBC, I've addressed that. I see that, okay, young people need to look at the low-hanging fruits. That's the realistic approach, I'll tell you why. You talked about political structure, and I completely agree with it. There are a lot of fantastic, ideal candidates out there, and but what is the sacrifice? What has been the sacrifice? What has been the structure? I can't come out in my state just this 2019 and say I want to contest for House of Reps. I know that ideally, I think I have what it takes.
Let me add something so that you can address it as you're talking. The news yesterday said only 31 women are running for office across the parties.
We need to address that too. I agree.
From the two major parties, only 31 women are running. And they know that these 31 women may not win the seats they are running for. but you see how
we will talk about.
What's the implication?
Globally, I think I read this somewhere. Globally, is about 23% women participation. I am for women participation. I mean, I've worked on so many bills that on sexual and reproductive health rights of women, from the violence against persons. So I'm always for the women when it comes to equal representation and equity. And yes, about Nigeria is very low. We have a very low percentage of women participation, and it's partly due to a lot of factors. Well, we need, what I think we should do, like I was talking about the youth, is to look at the low-hanging fruit, and I think it should also be, subscribed by the women as well. What are the low-hanging fruits? We have the local government. I know a lady that is currently a secretary in Gwagwalada local government, a woman actually, my friend's mom. We should look at making impacts through there and growing a structure from there. A lot of the people that are currently contesting, especially at the presidential level, have not just the House of Assembly. I know a lady that is also contesting. A young lady is.
Were screened out from the parties. Women had their tickets taken from them.
No, like I said, it's culture. I was going to talk about the factors, and I think it's something that we should address. I totally agree, because I am for equal representation, because if we are going to limit women, that means the amount.
These parties are living up to this responsibility.
We'll talk about that.
You're making statements I disagree with.
Let me finish. You can now disagree and talk about
I'm talking to Nana.
Okay, if this woman, we are actually losing a lot as a nation, because if we sideline half the brain that makes a whole compacted brain, then that means you won't get to where you need to get to on time. So
you've said a lot of beautiful things about, but what I've not heard
is parties, right? I was getting to there.
It's not the parties actually. I've not heard definite things, that would put women at the forefront. These low-hanging fruits, women went for these low-hanging fruits. I'm now throwing it back to Ose. Women went for these low-hanging fruits, and it was
what of the PDP presidential candidate in 2015 that was not voted by even the women?
No, we're not going to. We're not going to address women's rights or.
No, I'm talking about the woman that was hanging for the eye, the one that was reaching for the eye fruits for the presidential.
Women who went for local government, who went for House of Assembly seats, women who went for House of Rep seats, had their tickets taken away from them. We had young people from both parties. This is not just one of the parties, who took to social media to state how, even though they're disappointed, they will stand by their party's decisions. But they stated, in fact, or according to them, what had happened at the primaries. So, what do you think is the implication of shutting women out of the primaries? How do you think it will play out in 2019, no matter who wins?
Okay. Before I answer this question, I need to, you told me I would speak. I need to respond to what Kunle said about dollars being spent at the PDP primaries. And what I'm going to say is the fundamental difference between, I think personally, young people in the APC and young people in the PDP. We see mistakes and we call it out, not because we don't like our party, but because we feel by correcting these mistakes, we become better. So I will say...
But you can't speak for me.
Hold on. I will say that money was shared in Port Harcourt. It's a fact. We all know this. I'm not going to come on here and deny that. And I will condemn it. Fortunately for us, as we all saw in Port Harcourt, it wasn't money that decided the outcome of the primaries. It was good old-fashioned politicking. And I also will applaud that. And again, this speaking to Kunle and anyone else in APC who is here. If you see, I believe, I'm sitting across from Kunle because I believe we all want the best for Nigeria. We might have different ways we feel we're going to achieve it, but we're all pulling in the same direction. And we can only get there if we are bold enough to call these guys out when they I can't say fuck up, when they mess up, right? That's how we build. Speaking again, my themes are going to remain the same. Progress is built, or societies grow on progress achieved right? The previous administration, PDP was in power when the Beijing.
Are you going to address my question?
I am. I'm addressing it. I am addressing it. Hold on. Okay. PDP was in power when we had the Beijing conference. And Jonathan committed to 30% representation of women in public office, and he held it. He achieved it, right? He did achieve it. He had the most, and it wasn't women affairs, it wasn't Minister of State for Youth. The most powerful women in Jonathan's government, the most powerful people in Jonathan's government were women. That's fact. The most powerful minister, the most powerful. Hold on, the most powerful minister. No, I'm going. Yeah.
We can talk about the conduct of the women. Okay. Because if we're going to go there, I want to say emphatically that both parties have performed alike. Okay. However, my question is this. How does the exclusion, the tactical exclusion of women, how is it going to impact on 2019 elections and beyond? No matter who wins, how do you think it's going to impact on governance? He's not answering.
It's a matter of fact that elections in Nigeria are expensive. It's a matter of fact that one of the reasons why you dole out political office, right, appointive office to political office holders, is not so that they build up a treasure chest that they can use to go back home. It's so that they can build up political capital that they can spend come election periods. So it's why you have your senators and National Assembly members lobbying for constituency projects. It's not because their companies are going to execute those projects, but when it's election time, they can go home and say, you know what, I got this road built for you. I got this hospital built for you. That's the point. And that's why you have to, away from ideology, that's why you have to, if you are serious about empowering women, you have to give them space in appointive office before you talk about elective office. And it's ludicrous to me to sit across.
Shaking his head. You don't agree that we?
Yes. I'm not done. It's ludicrous to me to sit across someone representing the government in power, talk about what they want to do for women. You guys have been in power for 4 years. It's ridiculous.
And you've been in power for 16 years. I beg, please let's.
I've told you what. And I have no. Listen. When you make that quip, and I tell you what we have done for women, I can tell you that, and I can tell you why appointive office is important.
Let me tell you something. It is a fact that globally, women representation in politics is 23%. It's low. And it is also a fact that geographically, Nigeria as a country has some fundamental issues that there is no quick fix to, even in the next 16 years. I'm a realist. I'll tell you how. One, I've seen the culture that we practice here, that even women themselves.
Don't forget, how will this impact on 2019?
Our impact is basically there will be less representation of women, which would also relate to less amount of ideas that could have been brought on board. That is basically the answer. And I'm trying to put it into perspective that it's going to take a while, and it would start from a cultural shift. Completely. Can I finish? If you can disagree, then respond later. It's going to take a while. One, power is not served a la carte. That's the truth. You take it. And how do you, let me finish. Completely. You can disagree, but let me finish. You are disrupting my train of thought. 2 weeks ago, nobody had heard about Sonwolu. Can I finish? Can I finish?
2 weeks ago, who had heard about Sonwolu?
Why are you just, saying A, you're saying Z. Please let me finish. So what I'm trying to say is, I know it's not enough to say give women space. It's going to be, even youth as well. I'm a young person. And I realized that it's not enough to just say, give us space. Did you get? We have to look at fundamental underpinnings and how to, should I say, fix them, which will now give leeway for us. And this is how it's going to be. Firstly, we should be able to empower women first to have economic, rights, because women, as we know it today in Nigeria, in Africa, and most of the developing nations, have little or less economic rights. And that is one of the things we should tackle first, because with more economic power, you have more bargaining chips to be able to, look at Hillary Clinton, for example. Look at in the last US presidential election and almost won. I mean, that is a country that is coming out after 200 years, like you said. And I'm too putting it into perspective that as a realist, that when Nigeria is just 58, I am not saying we can do better, we can do better.
We can do better, we can do better.
16 years you were referring
we can
to
do better even within
enough.
10 years. That's what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say, it will take a lot of change.
A little bit of contradiction, but moving on.
If you can point it to me, I would like to also address it.
Moving on.
Look. I want us to before we leave, we're talking about women. I think when Atiku,
I still have a question.
I will answer the question. When Atiku,
I'm not going to let you use this platform to run it out.
I'm not campaigning.
I have my candidate and I've not said anything.
I'm not campaigning. I want to talk about a woman. I want to talk about a woman. When Atiku was shopping for a vice presidential candidate, the number one person nationwide, I'm not talking about in any region, I'm not talking about across any subset of society, the number one person on everybody's lips was a woman. And I don't even need to say her name because we all know who she is.
That's your personal problem. We don't even know what happened behind the scenes. Why are you bringing it out as a fact?
We're going to stick to the
personal information.
Kunle, listen,
we can't measure it as a fact on a live program.
Kunle, hold on. The point. Kunle, hold on.
Let's stick to that. And I've said my own. Let's stick to that, please.
Hold on.
Don't be bringing what you said behind the comment as a fact, right? Because you don't know.
No, hold on, Kunle. Kunle, hold on. Kunle made a comment and he said, "We are not ready." That is what I'm responding to.
Please
so what did you say?
I didn't say we are not
ready. So what did you say?
So
what did you say? Tell me, what did you say?
I didn't say we are not ready.
What did you say? Don't say that. And it was measured. I did a poll. Listen, hold on. I did a poll. It was about 20 presidential candidates. We had Lamido, we had Atiku, we had everybody. And do you know who won the poll? It was Ngozi that won the poll. What are you talking about that is not measurable? Stop this, please.
No. Listen, we're going away from the questions that I'm asking. Anyway, I'm throwing it back to you again.
Throw it back to me.
2019 is already here. The elections are here. Nigerians, recently, we went on the streets to hear the opinion of Nigerians about the 2019 elections. We talked to them why they want to vote. And some of them mentioned having faith in the electoral body, INEC. What do you think, as someone who's in politics, as an analyst, and as someone who's observed the last primaries, note that recently INEC prevented APC from fielding candidates from Zamfara. APC went to court, and the court said INEC cannot bar APC from fielding candidates from Zamfara. Also recently, Delta State has been prevented.
INEC did not prevent APC.
Now listen what I'm saying. Recently, Delta State branch of APC also have been prevented from presenting.
Why are we focusing on APC? What about PDP in Kwara State?
Now, I'm coming.
The presidential candidate coming back to
I'm coming back.
Let's be balanced, please.
I'm still talking, Kunle.
Okay.
I'm reeling out that in the news yesterday was the fact that the Senate president has, been nominated as the ticket carrier for PDP in Kwara State for the senatorial district. So there are a couple of things that are coming up, and INEC already had laid down procedures for submitting these names for the conduct of primaries. So do you still think that INEC has, or rather inspires that confidence in people to be able to conduct the 2019 election? Let's please try to limit it to the question asked.
The problem I have is that you ask such wide-ranging questions. So you've talked about INEC's role in equity, right? Where INEC precise, where you said previous elections.
I mentioned the primaries.
And you said previous elections.
No, I said the primaries and the 2019 election.
And when I have faith in INEC.
She mentioned Zamfara and Delta. So.
So I will take it back to Ekiti.
No, she mentioned Zamfara and Delta. Let's stick to the.
And
no,
I will.
You see,
and,
these guys
I will take it back because we're talking about my confidence in INEC, right? So I will take it back to Ekiti because I observed Ekiti and I watched again because I'm a young PDP member. I'll say the truth. I watched APC and another party engage in vote buying.
Another party. Who is the other party?
I watched
Can you be
Osun.
specific?
I watched Osun, and I saw INEC stand idly by while the security forces intimidated and harassed voters, security forces and thugs, and INEC declared that the rerun was free and fair and credible. I watched that. Listen, I watched that. Okay. And I do have videos. We have videos. Like because you did this thing on air the other time and the other person let you. I do have videos and I can show it to you. Okay. And when they challenge you, you said you didn't see the videos, you didn't get to it. No, so continue. I can show you. A journalist and observer, his head was broken. You didn't see that video. Continue. Tell us you didn't see the video.
I didn't see it actually.
Of course
to be honest,
you didn't see it. Because you're a young APC guy. I saw the video.
What's the relationship?
I saw the video. So that, and I saw INEC allegedly preside over the direct primaries of APC that returned 2 billion people as their members. 2 billion. Right? And then you're asking me.
I don't think that figure is correct.
Oh, goodness.
A slight exaggeration. And you're asking me. Slight. And you're asking me if I have confidence in INEC going into the 2019 elections. I think INEC hasn't. In
the light of what is happening, there were APC, there were PDP candidates. I'm asking the same thing. There were PDP candidates who ran for the presidential primaries, and slowly, one by one, some of them are picking up the tickets for the seats they formerly held. INEC is supposed to monitor party internal primaries. Yeah. And according to the Electoral Act, all the parties must hold primaries for every seat. So does INEC still inspire confidence in you, given the outcome of these things from the primaries? Do you still see INEC carrying this election and holding a credible, free and fair election in 2019 to produce someone who will be considered the choice of the people for the presidential elections and for other seats?
Yes, because the reason why I said yes is I'll give it to the last administration. The use of card reader was a game changer in Nigeria's electoral process. And I've always said it, not just on TV. I've always said it that when you automate a process, it leaves less room for people to interfere. So that process is already automated. It can only be improved upon. When you talked about Zamfara and you talked about Delta, I believe that's the question you were asking before you moved to Ekiti. So I will talk about Zamfara. INEC had, in their timetable, said that the time you are supposed to submit the nomination forms for all your candidates in all parties is 13th, if I'm not mistaken. Is it 13th of December?
If I'm not mistaken, maybe 3rd of December. The submission of, I think the submission of the form. Yes, there is end of primaries.
18th November.
18th November, right? Thank you. 18th November. Yeah. So,
what month is it? We are not yet in 18th November. So basically, you said that INEC is supposed to also, monitor conduct of primaries, and APC in Zamfara
cut off on October 7th.
Okay.
According to the
yes, primaries, yes, and there is a candidate.
Primaries and disputes are cut off on October 7th.
But then the submission is 18th. Yes. So a party can say that there is no dispute, Do you get?
Party must conduct primaries.
Must conduct primaries. And of course, there is a candidate from Zamfara. And also about Delta.
Primaries conducted in Zamfara State, in your opinion?
Well, yes, APC conducted primaries in Zamfara.
Was I allowed to observe the primaries?
I wasn't there, so I can't really say much about that. But let's talk about the Ekiti that you mentioned.
What's the import of this for 2019?
Wait, okay, for example, if INEC is saying that you, as a party, can't present a candidate, it shows the independence, and that party is the one in power anyway, it shows the independence of that INEC. And the party took INEC as an institution to court. And the court has given the party, the freedom to present that candidate. So it shows that our institutions are eventually growing, by the years. And it shows that even when you're in power, you can still seek redress if another institution that is supposed to be conducting election is saying you can't do certain things, you can still seek redress in the court of law. And if you have enough evidence to show, the court is going to give it to you. And that is exactly what played out in this case.
So I'm going to take this last question before we close.
No.
So I'm going to ask both of you. So I would let Kunle respond first before Ose responds. What role do you see security playing in this election? Let me elaborate. Recently, Hawa Liman was, may her soul rest in peace, was executed by a group of terrorists who's been terrorizing Nigeria for a while. There's been a silent media war, where there's no reporting of what's been going on. And where it is reported, it is underreported. We've also noticed that there's been no proper reaction from the appropriate quarters on the ongoings of these terrorists.
What do you mean by proper reaction? What do you mean?
When I say proper reaction, feedback for the citizens, assurance of safety. What we have heard are little pockets of disputes in the Nigerian army, which have been addressed by the army, by the way. But what I'm asking specifically, in the wake of these executions, what role do you see security playing in the 2019 elections?
Okay, thank you. You asked a very...
that there are people who haven't collected their PVCs in the affected areas, so that we understand.
Well, you talked about, Hawa Liman, so rest in peace. I've talked about that too on AIT, and I talked about, trying to discuss the fundamental issues and how we can address the fundamental issues. And it's not there's a short, medium, and long-term fix to it. On the short run, the government of the day have been able to reduce the menace of these charlatans to a very small pocket in the region. And of course,
is there reduction or is there quietness?
Let me finish, please.
Oh my God.
Let me finish. Let me finish. Yes, let me finish. Don't interject. You can talk later. Terrorism is a global problem. It's a war of the mindset. I've said it, and I will keep on. Yes, it's a war of the mindset. People have been indoctrinated, and it's also as a result of many factors. Religion is one. Environment and culture is another, and these things are deep-rooted from when the person was young, until when they grow. So basically, the Global Peace Index had said that the Northeast region, the killings have reduced, by as much as 80%. That's not to say, you can go and check it. I don't talk without facts. That's not to say that Nigerians are not still being killed. Is it okay for Nigerians like a Nigerian like Hawa Liman to be killed? No. But it shows that the country has a fundamental problem, and we can only continue to cut the branches. I'm saying this because I see that there is a lot of work that needs to be done holistically, culturally. So when you kill and you cut them to that little size, there will still be some resistance. It's not only in Nigeria, even in the developed countries. I was just trying to address that. So to the elections, yes, it is very important to note that so far so good. INEC has conducted elections in a lot of states, Ekiti, Ondo, Anambra,
with 30,000 policemen and members of the armed
forces,
and
they are more likely to be overstretched. Let me even say it because we need more. Yeah, because we need more policemen in the force. But these things are catch-22 situations when you're just coming out from recession. There's no money to recurrent expenditure. But let's not go into the details of that. So yes, for the 2019 election, I expect. I'm not saying that I am 100% confident that every single region is covered very well by the security agencies. I am not holding brief for the security,
I need you to address this properly, please. Let's note that it was alleged that 30,000 policemen were deployed for the elections that are held in the Southwest this year. We're going to have elections in 36 states of the Federation.
Plus the FCT.
The FCT.
Yeah.
Now, is that going to be 30,000 times 37 places?
Well,
do we have the
capacity? Calculating from alleged number, not from the facts.
Are we going to have enough capacity? Now, by estimate, from the budget that is being presented, are we going to have sufficient capacity to handle the election in terms of security?
Like I said,
is police going to be overstretched?
Like I said, I'm not a security expert, and I don't go into waters I don't even know how to tread. And I'm sure the security have done their due diligence, and I hope that, because Nigeria is a very funny country also, there's a lot of uprisings that can spark within minutes, and it blows out of proportion, and we've seen it happening many times in our history. But I hope that indeed both the security and the citizens and the politicians conduct themselves appropriately, so that we can just go through this election, and vote whoever we want to vote, and let the votes count.
Ose, I'm coming back to you. We're wrapping up. The same security question, particularly putting into context the uprisings in the Middle Belt, and also the insecurity situation in Plateau State and in Kaduna State. How do you think security is going to play a role in the 2019 elections?
Okay, let me tell you how it affects me directly. I'm a contractor, we build. I have a company, I have a construction company. So I have a project in Kaduna. I don't drive, it's about 2 hours from Abuja to Kaduna. I cannot afford to drive from Abuja to Kaduna because I'll be more likely than not kidnapped or attacked. We take the train. That's the direct impact to me on security. I take the train because we can, we've ceded Kaduna Abuja to, I don't know which band of criminals now owns
most
that.
Of them have been caught
maybe it's a public-private partnership we're doing with these guys.
No, they've been caught.
They've put a toll, and it's ridiculous. There was a point in this country. I'm not going to talk about the PDP admin under this administration where they said Boko Haram had been technically defeated, and they said that they are only now limited to attacks on soft targets. We've seen a resurgence now. Boko Haram is now attacking military bases. And you're telling me there's no issue. Forget Boko Haram. That's even...
I've not said there's no issue.
It's a non-issue to my mind. It's a non-issue. Because bandits have taken over Zamfara, right? The largest terrorist force in Nigeria. I don't want to say, I don't want to give them an ethnicity, but roving gunmen with cows, they are the largest terrorist group with regards to number of lives lost. It's not, and we want to simplify it by saying it's Boko Haram and wars, these terrorist wars are asymmetrical wars and they take forever. That's not the issue. I wish the only problem Nigeria had was Boko Haram, but it's not.
I don't even wish
if we're playing ostrich, how do we solve the problem? If we cannot say, look, you know what, we are burning.
Look, we are not burning. Please.
I'm telling you,
we are not burning.
Kunle,
we have gotten better.
Do you know?
Because since 1999 to 2014, we've lost 50,000 Nigerians. And he's talking about since that time to now.
When I was...
Listen. Of course, it's not up to that amount, but it's not okay to compare those things. It's not okay to compare the lives of loss or the numbers. But I'm just trying to put it into perspective.
You just made that comparison.
Because no, I'm just saying that he is saying that Nigeria is burning. Do you understand? Nigeria is not burning. And I'm trying to put it out there. No, let me say it, because we are coming from a very bad place. That's the truth. And it's going to take time to heal. And I hope that we don't have this kind of attitude towards our country. Our country is going to be great. We are not going to burn. We are going to live in peace with one another. And we are going to finish all these charlatans that are currently disturbing the peace of this country. We are not burning.
Let me talk about that.
We will not burn.
Let me talk about food security. Hold on, we're not done. Food security, right? Because agriculture has shrunk, because the agricultural sector in Nigeria has shrunk, Nigeria has pulled down Africa's GDP growth. Food security caused by headsmen.
Thank you very much, Kunle, for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ose, for coming.
I had so much fun.